What's going on, everybody? Zack Williams back with another episode for the men in Uncaged. As you know, this channel is all about the journey to the top 1%. How do we get there? By becoming 1% better daily. And last week, we spoke about your priority as a man to take care of yourself as a man. And this week, I wanted to talk about your responsibility to taking care of your spouse, taking care of your wife, making sure that you're a fucking man when it comes to being the leader of the household, being the leader of the family, being the leader of the relationship, being the leader. And guys, I said on the last episode, I'll reiterate it again. I am not someone that believes in gender roles. Being a leader doesn't always mean leading from the front. Sometimes it's leading from the rear. Sometimes it's leading side by side. Like sometimes Heather has to be the leader. Sometimes as being a true leader is understanding that someone else with specific specialties, specific skill sets, specific mindsets, specific experiences, specific wisdom need to lead you, right? So I, for one, believe that relationships should involve two leaders, the wife and the husband. But for today's episode, speaking to men specifically, we need to talk about what it's like to be the leader of the relationship as the fucking man and how it correlates to your relationship with your spouse. And one of the things that comes up quite regularly, and Heather and I have actually gotten into some, not fights by any means, but we because, you know, I run Uncaged, which is men's only, and she runs Unleashed, which is women's only. We have a lot of conversations about overlying principles with different perspectives. Because I don't know anything that goes on inside Unleashed. She doesn't know anything that goes on inside Uncaged. But we will talk about topics. Like she doesn't know specifics. I don't know specifics. But we will have our own conversations because something will come up in her group from the woman's perspective. And it will, obviously when you have that amount of women in a group, there's going to be all different personalities and perspectives and personas that come out. So she'll get contradicting comments on a specific thread. And so she'll come ask me my opinion as a man and or if it's come up in Uncaged, and we get to have really cool conversations about that. And part of that, has gotten into deep conversations for me and her, talking about men and women specifically and the way our brains are molded, the way our brains operate. There's things that as a fucking man, my mind doesn't go there. Whereas as a woman's, hers does. And throughout this journey that her and I have been on for the last several years, to better ourselves individually, but also to better ourselves collectively, we had to realize that part of becoming a stronger couple meant that we had to work on ourselves, because albeit my mind doesn't work like that, because I am a man and my man brain operates things completely in a different technical aspect, whereas hers does. But that doesn't mean I can't fucking learn it. For those of you who've been following me for years, you've probably heard this analogy before, but this conversation really holistically in our relationship came up when, I was up at 4 a.m. doing my morning routine. I would go to the coffee pot, and, we had a Keurig, and inside the Keurig, there was like a decorative coffee cup. So like in the midst of like, first of all, I'm just now waking up. It's 4 a.m. Like this isn't fun for anyone. My mind was just now starting. So not only was it like, do I think differently, but like, I'm not even fully thinking efficiently yet. I haven't even had coffee. So I got to turn the coffee pot on. I got to now remove this decorative coffee mug out of the way so that I can put my real coffee mug into the Keurig, make my coffee. Again, 4 a.m. I traditionally would just go grab my cup of coffee and I'd go walk away. Well, that decorative coffee mug's still sitting on the coffee bar chilling. And it was like little things like that that would slowly but surely start to, get under Heather's skin. Whereas to me, it was like, no fucking big deal. Go pick the cup up, put it fucking back. Boom. Now there's no emotional attachment to it. However, for her, it was this level of respect to her and the way she enjoys things. Like, she can't go to bed without the sink being completely rid of all dirty dishes. Like, it needs to be in the dishwasher running. If it needs to be hand washed, it needs to be hand washed, and it needs to be drying out. Like, she likes clean counters. She likes a clean appearance in our home. That is her safety net. That is her comfort zone. And I don't want to call it OCD. Maybe there is a little bit of OCD sprinkled in there, but like, that's what she enjoys. And so for me, by leaving that coffee mug, as simple as it is, that decorative coffee mug, simply beside it, just 12 inches away, was honestly like a slap in the face to her, because like, I should understand and know, because it has been communicated, that she enjoys this clean facade when she wakes up in the morning. It allows her to start her day fresh and free of clutter and free of chaos. And especially for stay-at-home moms, that's probably the only 30 seconds she has in the mornings where there's not just complete chaos going on. But that's what I wanted to talk about, is because my mind didn't operate like that. Like, it's no big deal. Just pick it up, put it back, whatever. That's the way my brain operated. Hers, she saw it as like, man, this is kind of disrespectful, bro. Like, I've told you that I like this. You're blatantly ignoring me. Whereas in my mind, I was not intentionally ignoring her at all. But then this is also where communication comes in, because we had to talk ourselves through this. And it was actually a really beautiful thing. It wasn't about this specifically that this conversation came up, but it's a good segue into, we were in Cabo at a couples retreat, and I can't remember if it was Bobby Cash or Keith Craft that we were, talking with, but the conversation came up that if it was important to her, it should be important to me. And it took me a second to really dig into like what I believe that meant. And it really kind of came down to like, man, I like things with motors. Like, I like motorsports. I don't care if it's dirt bike racing and side by sides. I don't care if it's motocross. Hell, I don't even care if it's, I don't know, whatever. If it's got a motor, I'm down to go watch it. Formula One, you name it. It's not necessarily Heather's cup of tea, but like, when there's an opportunity for us to go do something like that, she's all aboard. She's fucking down to ride. And there was a level there where like my appreciation for some of the things that she enjoys that I'm not 100% down for changed. Like, I'm not a country music fan, but there was like a Shania Twain concert she wanted to go to. And bro, there I am, midst of floor seats, you name it. She's blaring some Shania Twain, and I'm there having a great fucking time. And it's not because it was the music, because I could care less about the music. It wasn't because of anything other than the fact that she got a chance to enjoy herself in her true passion. Like, this was that moment for her was very nostalgic for her. It helped to remind her of her dad, who had just passed away. So like, who the fuck was I to take that away from her and to sit there and just be a grumpy old dude the whole time? Because like, I didn't want to be there. And it turns out, like, not only did I not want to be there, like, I fucking enjoyed it. Again, not because of the music, not because of anything else other than the fact that, like, my wife was having a great fucking time. We go to Disney all the time. My wife and my daughter love it. And I used to fucking hate it. Like, I used to verbally let people know that I was miserable when we went. And I had to shift that perspective. And now I fucking love going. Why? Because I get to see how much it means to those two girls. My daughter lights the fuck up every time we go. She's been going there for her whole life. And she still gets that excited. And that makes me happy. Because also, I got to realize I might not have these moments with my daughter that much longer. So how fucking selfish am I to spend this time with a fucking attitude because it's not something that I'd enjoy when or in people's face, like one-on-one, and be like, oh yeah, man, anytime I spend with my wife and daughter, that's heaven for me. That's the ideal goal. Like, oh, I don't care where I live with them. As long as I have y'all, I'd sleep in a fucking cardboard box. But fucking would you, bitch? But fucking would you? You say that shit because it's fucking cute and it sounds good. It's a good Instagram post. And it's a good little chance for people to be like, oh, that was so sweet. But fucking would you? Because you bitch and moan and complain to have to go to the goddamn grocery store with your wife. Your wife doesn't really want to go to the grocery store any more than you do. So you got to set some of your personal thoughts aside, your personal emotions aside, and realize that if it's important to her, it should fucking be important to you, bitch. Make it important to you. Your mind, your brain might not operate that way. That's fucking okay. That is totally okay. But you can learn how to make it important to you. There was a study done with infants where they took the child on one side of the room, the mother on the other side of the room, and they put an obstacle in the middle of the room. Well, the boy infants would go, they would see their mom, they would go to the obstacle, and they would try and break it down. They would try and climb over it. They would try and go around it, whatever they could do to get to their moms. The girl infants would sit there and cry. They just wanted to be heard. The men are doers. Obviously, that's a great analogy for the conversation on when you and your wife are fighting or your wife just wants you to hear her and you're trying to fix it, right? The women just want to be heard. The boys will take action. Well, with that said, that is just to prove that like our brains literally do operate when we see things a specific type of way. So again, going back to the coffee mug analogy, at the time, not at the time, but I was not intentionally disrespecting my wife by leaving it there. I wasn't just sitting aside and being like, fuck you, bitch. Like, this is your mess to clean up. That's not the way it was. My mind just didn't operate that was going to derail someone mentally that much. And plus, I was distracted. 4 a.m, I'm just now waking up. I just wanted my cup of coffee so I could go sit down and fucking read. That's all. My boom, 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 boom. Action, 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 action. My wife just wanted for me to hear her and saying, hey, babe, can you just, as simple as I thought that she could just put the fucking coffee cup back, if it was that big of a deal to her, she thought that if I could just hear her, how simple would it be for me to just pick it up and put it back, knowing that it did actually mean something to her. Where's that priority? Was me rushing to go read more of a priority than helping my wife out with something that I know that is important to her? So again, guys, like, I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's a little act around the house. I don't care if it's a big adventure, like going somewhere to a country song, country concert or Disney or whatever it is. But like, if it's important to them, it should be important to you. And like a lot of that too can, not always, but it can come back to like, do you know what your wife's dreams or goals look like? We talked about this in one of the retreats for the men in Uncaged, where this came up pretty regularly. Like, a lot of these guys don't even know. Like, I'm doing the coaching calls too with some of the guys, and retirement's been a big thing with the coaching calls. And I ask, like, what's your wife's thought process on retirement? And I don't want to say no one knows, but a lot don't. Like at the retreat, we talked about dreams and goals. What's your wife's dreams or goals? Do you know what her idea of retirement looks like? Does she want to be retired at the beach, but you want to drive an RV all over the country? Vice versa. Does she want to be closer to family? Do you want to go on adventures? Like, what, if you don't know, I highly encourage you to start figuring out what that looks like. And the reason I brought up the retreat is because there was actually one of the guys, and I've actually told this story to quite a few people in ways to kind of help extrude this from your spouse. But, one of the guys was like, man, we don't really have the goals and the dreams conversations. We don't really have the retirement conversation a lot because she just trusts me. Like, she trusts me holistically with all the money, with the business, with the way it's going, with what, the future looks like. And so we just don't talk about it. And the more we kind of dug into it, I personally believe that it was a little bit of an insecurity for her, something that was scary to think about, something that, like, it did evoke an emotional response from her. And so the more we started digging through this at the retreat, I had made a comment that I've coached a few other people through in the past, which is one of my fondest memories of a conversation that Heather and I have ever had was in our favorite place in the world, Belize, at our favorite sports bar that's on the water, and it has this pier. We were out on the pier, drinks in hand. There's rocking chairs on this pier. It was just me and her. There was a storm out at the sea. We were literally watching the storm out at sea. But because of that, the pier is kind of, it wasn't aggressive because in Belize, there's the Great Barrier Reef that actually catches a lot of that weather. So it was not necessarily like a vigorous, set of waves, but it was definitely more aggressive than usual. So we were having a good time, just hanging out, just talking. And all we did was we talked through our dreams and our goals and what life looked like. It was basically like a visualization. Those of you know, I'm really big on visualizations. And so we just sat there and visualized, but not a typical visualization in day-to-day life that I do is 5 to 10 minutes. This was 2-3 hours. And it was the most incredible conversation in my core memories that I go to regularly. And I started to really hone in on why that conversation was so important to us, why that memory was so fond for me, and why and how other people can, not necessarily at the time I wasn't thinking how other people can replicate it. Selfishly, I was thinking, how can I replicate this? And I started paying attention to things, and what it is we removed, both of us, but more specifically her, as a stay-at-home mom, and as someone, again, that mentally thinks differently than I do, out of her comfort zone. So here we are in Belize. Again, it's our favorite place in the world, our favorite bar on the water, which is our favorite place to be, is on the water, just enjoying life, having good times, laughing, snickering, picking jokes on each other, whatever the case is. And it was because we were able to take, again, we'll just say both of us out of our comfort zone. When we get home, when we're at the house, that's her comfort zone. That's where she goes to feel safe. That's where her homeostasis is, right? Whereas when we got her out of that, she was able to loosen up and not feel so defensive of her safe place, right? She didn't have to guard her sanctuary. So here we are now, and specifically in a place that for us brings serotonin and dopamine releases in our brain. We have feel-good chemicals running through us now. It really allowed us to open up with each other, talk about things that theoretically, typically we wouldn't talk about. And because we were having such a good time doing this, it was so inviting. The atmosphere was incredible. This conversation went on for hours. And it allowed us to really extract some real heavy-hitting focal points of our lives to each other. And we're literally living some of those now that I'm saying this out loud. Some of the conversations we had that were fucking dreams are now our reality. Here the fuck we are. And, I'm very excited about this because we're actually, in 2 weeks, we're going back to Belize. We're going to go back to that same sports bar. We're going to sit on that same fucking pier. And it's a goal of mine to reiterate that conversation, to have that conversation again, and make sure that we're still, as we've grown, we've become different people, right? Like if you were to sit here right now and you're going to set your dreams and your aspirations and your goals and your desires up here, and you're here and you get here, obviously you're going to have new goals, dreams, and aspirations because you're different fucking people. Who the fuck are you to think that to get from here to here that you aren't going to grow, that you aren't going to become a different person, right? And so, one of the things that I want like keeping at top of mind, because we have our little date nights where we'll go and we have micro conversations about this kind of stuff. But these conversations like we had in Belize are macro conversations. Like we talk about it all. We get it all out there. And for me, I'm very, very excited to revisit this because that we have gone through, we're in a whole new chapter of our lives. It's been an incredible journey since the last time we had that macro conversation. And here we are again, about to reiterate that. And I am so excited to see how far we've come. I'm so excited to see what our future looks like coming up and just create another core memory. Like we will attach this core memory onto that core memory. And I'm so excited about it. But I want to bring that up to you that you've got to have these conversations often. Now, I'm not saying these macro conversations don't need to be had every week, maybe not even every quarter. I definitely think at least annually. But the point I wanted to bring up, like we do have micro conversations of this, making sure that we're in line weekly. Shit, if not fucking daily, if I'm being honest, but like on our weekly dates, like we do discuss this stuff on a micro level because like there's other things that we want to discuss, whatever, but like having moments that are hour, 2 hour, 3 hour long where a year where you get to follow back up with your fucking loved one, your fucking spouse. Like I said it at the beginning of this episode, but I can't fucking say it enough. Like it is your responsibility to be a good fucking spouse to your wife. And so with that said, like, this is a part of doing that. Who the fuck are you if you're not willing to give your wife 1, 2, 3 hours a fucking year, dickhead, into making sure that y'all are on the same path still, that y'all are trekking in the same direction? Because I promise you, like, if y'all start to deviate, whether that's you and her deviating, or that's y'all and your goals deviating, small percentages over long periods of time really fucking add up. My brother, he hikes all the, trails in the country, like the Appalachian Trail, the Continental Divide, the Pacific Crest, all those. And, he's done Pan American motorcycle. The dude's just an adventurer. And he did the Appalachian Trail first. He did the Continental Divide second. And the Continental Divide is more of a technical trail. It goes through the desert in a lot of areas. And I was asking him about the technicalities. And he said how important it was. Like, you don't think about staying on trail in the middle of the fucking desert, right? And if you aren't paying fucking attention after walking, 20, 30, 40 miles through the fucking desert, by the time you end up coming outside of that desert and you haven't been tracking where you're going, you're fucking 10, 15 miles off course. And so, like, how important is that to walk for a day or two and end up being half a day away from where you're supposed to be? Like, you imagine that now, you expand that, you have these conversations once every few years with your spouse. How fucking far off of your goals and your dreams are you? Because, like, dude, come on now. Like, I'll tell you, word for word, I can't reiterate the full conversation we had on that pier. That's why I'm excited to recap it. She knows her dreams and goals. I know my dreams and goals. I'm excited to, converse with her and just connect with her and making sure that we're still staying on track. I know we are in some aspects of life, because like I said, some of the things that we talked about as being our goals and our dreams are actually our reality now. So like, I know we're on track with some of that, but I can't wait to discuss everything in detail and really see where it is we are holistically in correlation to the last time we had that conversation, and then see what goals we get to set moving forward. It's just, it's really, really going to be an incredible opportunity. And then, I wanted to talk about it too, because of this conversation. There's a lot of things that come up in Uncaged about like communication with your spouses and stuff like that. And, one of the things that I've brought up many, many times is like the 5 love languages. Like, do you even fucking know what your spouse's love language is? And if you don't know, or haven't read that book, I highly, highly, highly encourage you read it. And if you have read it, but maybe your spouse hasn't, just a little trick is like, if you've read the different 5 love languages, like she hasn't, and so she hasn't been able to communicate to you what those are, and or maybe you don't know what yours is. It's whatever you do for the other person, right? So if your spouse is constantly cleaning the house, she's secretly telling you that she wishes you would help with acts of service, is that love language. She would help, or that you would help her with that. Without her verbally telling you, she's telling you subconsciously what she wants, right? And it's your responsibility as the man to pick up on these things and to go out there and be that for her, man. And especially for those of you who have, stay-at-home moms like I do, I can't tell you how powerful these fucking women are, and we've got to take care of everything that we fucking have, bro. And, it is so important for us to make sure that we are going out there and we are, again, it's our responsibility to be there for them and to support them and to lead in the household on how a good spouse is supposed to be and how a good husband should be treating their wives. And the little things are what matters. And again, there's 5 different love languages. Go out there, do your own research, figure out what they are, figure out what your wife's is. All you got to do is just figure out what the 5 are. I could tell you what the 5 are, but I just need you to take a little bit of responsibility. Go Google it yourself. It'll show you instantly. It's easy to understand what those 5 are. And then I want you to think about what it is that your wife does for you. That is her love language. Start going to do more of that. It's kind of a joke in my book, One Foot in Front of the Other, shameless plug, that, if you want to get more blowjobs, do more dishes or do more laundry. It's like a mathematical fucking problem. You do more fucking laundry, you get more blowjobs. I say that as a joke, but motherfucker, it's a fucking thing. And it's your responsibility as a fucking man to figure it the fuck out, because you don't know what you don't know till you don't know it, or till you know it. Like, your wife might not know anything about the 5 love languages. So how in fucking earth is she going to be able to communicate that to you? She's not. But maybe you didn't know about the fucking 5 languages till right fucking now. So go figure out what those 5 are. Go see what the fuck it is that your wife does for you on a consistent basis, and then do it for them. It's very, very easy. And a lot of this comes down to, honestly, if it was something that you cared about, you would do the research. You would figure out what it is that they want as women, especially as mothers, especially as stay-at-home mothers. There's this thing called mom's guilt. Didn't know it till I knew it, but there's a thing called mom's guilt. So, and albeit this isn't the way I mean it, but like, for anyone that's listening should understand this. And if you have a problem with what I'm about to say, then fuck you. But, stay-at-home moms specifically, like, I don't know if you call it an allowance. I don't know if you want to call it, it should be a salary. If your business is set up correct, you should be paying your wife and your children. But that's a whole different tax strategy that we won't talk about. But, like, there is allocations or budgets for, like, what your wife can or cannot spend on herself. And it's unfortunate. It's just the fucking way it is. There's there's a budget for what I can and can't spend money on myself. Like we're not made of money right now. Like, so there's a budget for everything. Well, with that said, if you wanted to, say for example, you wanted to splurge on your wife, maybe that's one of the 5 love languages. Again, I'm not going to give them to you. I want you to go research it, but maybe that's one of hers, right? And so if you were to give your wife $100, have her go buy some new dresses or go get some makeup or go get her nails done or whatever the case is, mom guilt starts to kick in because she runs the household. She leads the household. She knows everything going on in the household. What are we low on? What groceries need to be purchased? Like, what toiletries are we out of? Like, she knows fucking everything. What do the kids need? Which ones are, outgrown their shoes? Which ones need new shirts because they tore? She knows everything. So you give this mother $100. She goes to the store to go buy something for herself because that's what you told her to do. Well, then she's like, fuck, man. Lottie really needs some new shoes. Man, there's this school thing coming up for Lottie. Lottie could really use a new jacket or this or that. There's a million other things that run through their heads. Again, their brains operate differently than ours. And her mom guilt kicks in. Man, I really can't spend this kind of money on myself because I need to spend it on the house, on the family, on Zach, on Lottie. So my hack to this, you don't have to do it, but I've encouraged a lot of the guys in Uncaged to do this, and they've gone out and done it. And hey, a mathematical problem I told you talked about in my book, it worked out really well for them. But it's like buying gift cards where they have to spend it on themselves. Like, I'll go buy Heather, a gift card for the nail salon. She can't go fucking buy shoes with that. Like, she's got to go get her nails done. And at that point, she happily goes and takes her ass there. And, I'll DoorDash a bottle of champagne there, let her chill out and have a mom day. Have a break. Have a mental relaxation day. Have her day. But this is all things that are important to her. And how do I know that? Because I pay attention. Because it's my responsibility to fucking know it. Right? I listen to things that she says. I write down little notes here and there. When she says she needs something or she wants something or she's missing something, I pick up on these notes and I pay attention to it. And I do it for them. Or do it for her. I was about to say, sometimes you just got to do things for them. If you've got a close enough relationship with your spouse's boss, maybe you call your boss or her boss. If she's not a stay-at-home mom, maybe you call her boss and you ask time off work for her as a surprise. You take the day off and you go take a spontaneous date. Just let them know that you're thinking about them. Let them know that you're willing to go out of the way for them. Like, what's the point in all this if we don't have someone by our side in the future? I think about that a lot. I work a lot. I work hard. When I am in, I am in. And it's hard for my family, unfortunately, to distract me from that work. I guess in one conversation you can call that a good thing, one conversation you can call it a bad thing. But so for me, like, I have to pour back into, I talked about it on the whole last episode about pouring into yourself and reviving yourself and regenerating yourself and focusing on yourself and, providing that type of mental masturbation for yourself. Your spouse needs that too. It's your responsibility as a fucking man to pour into your relationship with your wife. I'm not talking about children. I'm sure that'll be another episode. I'm talking about your fucking wife. And one person, like I said, I'm spiritual. I'm not forcing this on you. But like, if you believe in the Bible and they talk about when a husband and wife married, they become one. Why are you still acting like you're the only half? You have a whole nother half of you that you're not fucking focused on, that you haven't prioritized. And guess what? If you don't fucking take care of it enough, it will die. It will leave. I promise. Seen it. Now, I haven't really been through it. I've been divorced. That's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother time. But it is your responsibility. You can't look me in my fucking face and tell me that your family is your fucking responsibility if your fucking actions speak differently. I'm going to leave it at that. I think that's a pretty good way to end it. Guys, I can't tell you how much these episodes mean to me. It's really good for me to get in front of this camera, and I'm literally just staring at a reflection of myself on this camera while I have these conversations. This is, for lack of better terms, this is a diary for me to remind myself who the fuck I need to be, what kind of a fucking man I need to be, and where my responsibilities lie. And so it's really good to get in here and chop it up. Very excited to start bringing in some of the Uncaged members on these episodes. It's going to just start blowing up after that. So very, very honored to be here. Very excited for what the future looks like. And guys, these episodes, if this means anything to you, if you got anything out of this, please share this with someone. There's someone out there that needs to hear this story just as much as you did, if not more. And let's make sure it gets in front of them. And that's our responsibility as this community. So, as you know, this is the journey to the top 1%. And how do we get there? By being 1% better daily. It's paying attention to episodes like this that help all of us, myself included, become that 1% better. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. If you have any questions about Uncaged, anything with the free group or the VIP group, the merch, the app, you know it, you name it, definitely check out uncagedcrew.com. Obviously, reach out to myself or any of the other pack members whenever you want. We'll be more than happy to give you all the information that we can, help you out every step of the way, whatever it is that you need to feel confident and comfortable with your decision. We're here for it. But appreciate you guys. We hope to see you inside VIP, and we'll talk soon.